Good everybody. It is Tuesday, October the something. It's the first Tuesday in October. And I know that because I looked at my calendar. Anyway, hey, for you members who are out there, there's a new song coming out later today. We're going to have, at Mixed Coach Member, we have a new song every month, and we are going to be mixing a brand new song. So, anyway, wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about, first of all, mixcoach.com/workshop. If you're new to mixing, or if you want to just get some insight on somebody that's been mixing for a while and maybe get some inside track on some tips and tricks and ways to think about mixing, mixcoach.com/workshop is a good place for you to land because I'm giving away my some of my best tips there. So all you have to do, it's free, mixcoach.com/workshop. There's a place where you can put your name, email address, and I'll send you straight to the link on the very next one starting, and there's a new one starting soon. So check it out, okay? I'll take that away now. Go check it out, though. Okay, so let's see. I want to talk to you a little bit about a conversation that I just had with Ian Shepherd. Ian Shepherd, if you don't know him, is he runs productionadvice.co.uk. He is has a lovely accent. I love talking to him. He's such a wealth of knowledge when it comes to mastering. And just got through just a few minutes ago, finished an interview with him where I had a lot of questions that I wanted to ask about things like dynamic range, LUFS, RMS, peak levels, all that kind of stuff, all that nerdy stuff that engineers like to talk to each other about, but probably nobody else needs to know. That interview is going to be coming out probably next week, so I'll probably just upload that. Probably won't be a live show next week, but there will be a great interview. It's about an hour long, and it's just packed full of, look at this. Look at all these notes. I got a whole page of notes just on stuff that I learned from Ian. So anyway, I wanted to give you a little bit of insight of what I learned from him today, and this is just in the first few minutes. Let me mention this. By the way, let me know in the comment section if you're here, first of all. I know we've got Elliot here and a couple other people here, it looks like. Do you have a mastering engineer? If you don't, or if you do, let me know. If you've got any mastering questions, let me know. Not that I can answer them necessarily, but I may can. So if you don't have people ask me all the time, do I need a mastering engineer? And I will say, having a mastering engineer is one of those things. It's more about a relationship than it is about technology, because we all have access to the same tools that most mastering engineers have now. I have nice speakers, probably nicer than some mastering engineers, but it's not necessarily about their speakers and their signal flow that's most impressive about a good mastering engineer. What's impressive about a good mastering engineer is the fact that they know, how to make something sound good. It's like the last. I've heard it explained before. As a mastering engineer is either the last step of the production process, or the first step of the listening process, where the consumer gets to listen, but he has the power to change things in the master before the general population gets to hear your mix. But it's not, like I said, it's not about his tools. It's about his opinion, and it's about your relationship with him. Ian is one of those guys who's a wealth of information. He doesn't mind sharing it. As another person that I appreciate is a person that will share their knowledge. I've always, for the last, 30 years, I've tried to be a resource for people to go to that, I don't know everything about mixing. Never will. I know a lot of people who know a lot about mixing, and they never know if they do if they say they know everything about it. I would listen with the filter on, but you want a guy who is going to share information with you and not be afraid that you're going to steal their work or whatever. So the nugget, if you don't take anything else home from this call it a day. It's that don't just get a mastering engineer because they master things. Find a mastering engineer that's going to improve you as a mixer. Because if you miss that point of it, then what is the point? I always think if you have a mastering engineer, make sure that they're going to tell you the truth. They're not just going to smile at you while they take your money. That might be money well spent, but it's not going to improve you as a mixer. If you don't ask the question, hey, what did you have to do to my mix to make it sound like this? Or I noticed that this was different. Tell me what you had to do. And then, like, I've had a mastering engineer to tell me before, hey, I asked him, I said, hey, what did you work on the longest on my mix? And he was like, well, I had to take out this frequency in every song. And then you listen, find out if you liked him taking that frequency out of your songs, and then figure out, hey, are my monitors weird? Did I run everything through a plug-in that he had to undo? One of my mastering engineers I use in New York, he has been such a wealth of information for me. He will tell me, hey, I had to raise the vocal level a little bit more. Or a lot of times what he'll say, instead of trying to get my vocal level up or down or whatever, or snare lower, kick hotter or whatever, instead of him just doing it with EQ and compression, which you definitely can do these days, he asked me to redo it. And to me, that's where you improve the most as a mixer. So if you find a mastering engineer, make sure it's somebody that's relational and somebody who has your best interest at heart as far as improving you as a mixer. Those are the best mastering engineers. So let's take a couple questions. Elliot says, I do mastering myself. I kind of do. I think we all do mastering ourselves. And that's one of the things that I talked to Ian about that on this interview that you're going to see next week. He kind of gives us some tips and tricks on how to do that. Let's see. What is the best mastering plugin? That's a good question because there's a lot of them out there. What is the best mastering plugin? For me, has been Isotope Ozone has been really good. And I also use the Steven Slate FGX, which is really good. But the thing about it is that you can always get your mix louder, but there's a trade-off for everything. So just make sure that you're watching. I'm going to tell you about a plugin, or not a plugin. It's actually a free website that Ian has helped to develop, and it's very eye-opening. So just make sure that when you use mastering plugins like Adapter, ADPTR. I'm going to look that up, man. Audio Streamliner. I'm going to check that out. I don't know anything about it yet, but I'm going to check it out. Whenever you use a mastering plugin like this, just make sure that you're not just making everything loud. If I learned any one thing from this interview that you're going to see with Ian next week, it's that Spotify and a lot of these streaming platforms will lower your level to make it match up with everything. In other words, their algorithm, the thing that they're using to level up music is the same approach that most engineers would use. Like, you're sitting there mixing for your sister's wedding, and you've got this playlist of songs, and one song is louder than the next. So you want to ease one song up, ease one song down, and make nobody go, oh, it's too loud now on this song. Those algorithms are doing the same thing. So what you have to make sure that your mix is just a good mix. Louder always sounds better to, at least my ear, to the human ear. So make sure that when you take that loudness thing and your mix is not instantly louder than the next mix, make sure that it's not just louder, it's a good, well-rounded, you can hear everything, makes you want to bob your head sort of mix. Okay, that's the big thing I learned. Okay, so hey, I'm going to check out a couple of these these mastering things. Okay, I will check it out, man. Let's see, Metric AB, made by adapter. Metric AB. I will check that out. Bingo FGX is unbelievable. Another one I'm going to have to check out. Bingo FGX. I don't see Bingo. Oh, not made by Bingo. FGX is amazing. I can't believe I just Googled Bingo FGX. Anyway, I did. So that's in the past now. Okay, Slate VMR is great. Virtual Mix Rack, yep. I don't have a ton of the Virtual Mix Rack. I didn't do the subscription, and I don't have all of the individual things that I bought. It's pretty limited. Yeah, the Slate thing seems to be the Slate thing seems to be my go-to right now. But I am patiently waiting on this new TC Electronics brick wall and multi-band limiter that I ordered 2 weeks ago, and I guess they're backlogged. I just want the limiter. I don't care about the interface, and I think the interface is what they're running short on a little bit. But it has a way that you can mix at minus 14 LUFS, which seems to be the sweet spot for to send it to mastering engineers and they don't complain about it, and also sending it to YouTube or Spotify and they don't complain about it either. I have had the FabFilter de-esser. I keep hearing great stuff, but man, it is so easy to spend so much money on plugins. I've spent a few $100s just in the last few weeks on plugins, whether it be plugins that tell me what my LUFS is and how loud my mix actually is, to limiters that actually get the mix louder. So it's a never-ending money hole that you can throw your money into. Absolutely. So Elliot, yeah, I'm right on board with you. Mixing for the moms is what I call it. Making sure that the moms like your mix, no matter how loud it is. Everything can be loud, but if they can't hear their son play the bass or play that little flute part, then their mom doesn't like the mix, no matter how loud it is. Okay. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to jump in real quick, and I'm going to recap something from my full page of notes here. About what Ian said about mixing. I said, Ian, I have to answer this question all the time. When I'm mixing a project for somebody and they say, hey, do I need a mastering engineer? I'm always stumped on what to tell them, because the one part of me wants to save them money. The other part of me wants to make sure that my back gets covered too by a great mastering engineer. So I asked Ian this, and next week you'll see it on this YouTube channel. He said there's 3 ways I explain mastering. There's a very simple way, there's a little bit more advanced way, and then there's the real boring way. And the first way was that you just want to make sure that your song sounds the best, that you can make it sound. So you send your mastering to someone, you send your mix to someone and let them master it. And if it's, has a sibilance problem, or maybe the low end is not measuring up the way it should, then your mastering engineer he has an opportunity to change that. The second way he explained mastering is it's like audio Photoshop, which I use Photoshop some, and I can't believe I've never thought about Photoshop in this way, or mastering being like Photoshop. If you take a picture and you put it into Photoshop, you can look at it and on surface level it looks like a great picture, but maybe there's somebody that's photobombing in the background that nobody noticed. Well, in Photoshop, you can actually take that out. Maybe there's a power line hanging across the picture that you don't want. Well, in Photoshop, you can take that right out. Maybe everything is in focus in Photoshop, but you want to focus on one thing. So you can actually take layers and you can blur out the background and make people focus on the right thing in the front. So mastering is your last chance to send this to someone that you trust to do this. And they can either say, hey, you left, there's a lip smack here. and if it would be better for the song for you to take the lip smack out by doing your editing on that track, or if it would be just as easy for them to do it, then that's the relationship thing. I mean, they can, he can say, hey, your snare was way too loud, and it's not, your whole mix is not going to be loud enough because I'm having to like devastate the snare to get it down to where I can raise the level of the whole song. That's relational. That's all relational. That's one of those things that you want to have somebody to go, hey, I don't know if anybody's told you this, but we need to change this about your mix. And then if you trust them enough that that they've got your best interest in the heart, then you'll do it, right? But the third way is the way that I find myself explaining it. It's the boring way a little bit, but in a way, mastering has become different over time. And Ian summed it up so beautifully. What I tell people is that mastering has changed roles a little bit, at least in my opinion, over the last few years. Back when we were cutting vinyl, well, I missed the vinyl era, but it's back now. When you're mastering for vinyl, you had a couple things you didn't want your S's to distort from sibilance. So a lot of mastering engineers that were mastering for vinyl would DS a whole mix, which sounds a little funny, but you listen back to those old warm LPs, and that's part of the result of that. They also had to contain the low end. So if you had a really heavy kick drum, you had to do something about that because your needle that was cutting through the vinyl to make the positive, or the mother, I guess is what they call it. Then if the kick hit too hard, it could skip over, ruin the vinyl, right? So you had to contain that a little bit, and in doing so, it kind of compressed and made it more useful for the format that you're going with. In the 90s, everything was just about getting everything louder, and that if you listen to one mix and then the exact same mix, it was 1 dB louder, your ear would say that 1 dB mix louder is better. So that started this thing called the Loudness War that Ian's very outspoken about. And then that was in the 90s. Now it's pretty much trying to find the point at which Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, which is a very popular source for people to listen to your mixes, is on YouTube. Making sure that your mix will still stand up against the next mix and the next commercial that's playing, because there's nothing more frustrating than to be listening to your favorite TV show or your favorite YouTube video or song, and then a commercial comes on, and then it's so loud that you have to you're reaching for the volume knob. You don't want that to happen, and neither does Spotify or YouTube. So they have come up with an algorithm that will automatically change the level of your song. Well, I say change the level. Only Spotify will bring your level up. YouTube will not bring your level up. It will only bring your level down. So it's nice for you to have somebody in your corner that's telling you these things. So the way, in my so many words of explaining that, Ian said, your mastering engineer is making your song sound the best for whatever format you're going to. So if that's CD, then he masters it a certain way, or in a certain, or if it's going to LP or vinyl, there's a certain way you have to kind of keep it. If you're going to Spotify and iTunes, then there's a way that you have to kind of keep your mix confined so that it sounds good on all those formats. And the thing is, I don't know how many mastering engineers master for each one of those formats. So mastering engineer, another way that they're valuable is they're finding that sound that's going to fit on LP, on CD, on who knows if cassette's coming back, on YouTube, on iTunes. So having a mastering engineer can be a very valuable thing. If not, you need to learn more about mastering. I want to learn more about mastering so that, when I do send it to my mastering engineer, not for him to change my mix, but for him to have a valid opinion that I trust. It's just valuable to have a good mastering engineer. So Ian summed it up in a very succinct way of saying, your mastering engineer takes your song and he makes it fit into whatever format that it's going to. If you think about this, I've done this before, where you mix a song, and a lot of the songs that I have mixed in the past and even mixing now, these groups will take the what we call the TV tracks, which is the band mix plus background vocals, and they'll take that and they'll take it to TV, or they'll take it to a church, or they'll take it to some other podcast venue or radio or whatever, and they'll sing with it. And then sometimes you realize that, oh, I wish I would have known it would have sounded like this on podcast. I would have changed it. So this is where a mastering engineer comes in handy, and where it's nice for you to know more about mastering, so that you can know, is it going to line up on all these categories? So let's see. Let me go back up here where I dropped off on the. Steve Klein says, have you ever tried Lurson Mastering Console? I'm going to look for it right now. Lurson Mastering Console. I've not tried that, but I will definitely check that out. It looks like it's IK Multimedia, available from Sweetwater, and Initial Audio. Man, that looks like something I would like to know more about. I have not tried it. I would love to know your opinion on it. If you don't mind commenting in the comments section, I will check it out. Lurson Mastering Console. That's cool. Gabriel Long says, who's a good master? You mean who's a good mastering engineer? There are several of them. I would, if you're like me and you can find them anymore, look for allmusic.com and look for some of your favorite records that have been mastered by certain people. And then, the more records that pop up that are your favorite, that this guy keeps appearing. I don't think people use mastering engineers a lot just out of, their name, because nobody reads credits anymore. I mean, back in the day, if you could say that, this certain person mastered your record, people would see you as more legit. I've played that game before too. It didn't work out as well as it could have, because I didn't get a chance to ask them, what did you have to do to my mix? So anyway, who's a mastering engineer? I mean, there are several of them. I don't want to start naming names. Ian is definitely one of those mastering engineer. Well, I don't want to get into naming too many names yet. I would just say look at allmusic.com, look at your favorite music, look at some of these mastering guys. Yeah, allmusic.com is a good source to look at. Just, if you look for an artist, there's a section that says credits. And in the credits, you can look on the right on that record that you're looking for, and it will give you credits for like guitar, programming, vocals, vocal production, A&R, and if you keep looking, you'll see a mastering engineer. Look that guy up, and then look for his name, and see what he's mastered, and see if you like his stuff. That would be good. And and again, you don't necessarily have to have a highly credited guy. Those tend to be a little bit more expensive. I mean, you know what? I should probably come up with a list of mastering engineers that I know and have worked for or worked with, and I'll do that later. Gabriel, if you'll circle back around, and if I don't get to this in the next week or so, let me know, and I'll send you personally a list of people that I have used. But I don't want to get into it right now, because I've got a lot of people who are great mastering engineers, and I wouldn't want to leave anybody out. Okay. Elliot says, I'll always give a long list of everything I did when I master for someone. See, that would be very helpful. And to me, that would be worth the price of admission. That's like what we do on Mix Coach Member, is a lot of times we'll put our mixes up and people will give feedback on how they think that you can improve your mix. It's always kind of grain of salt sort of thing. Like, everybody with different ears has different opinions, different speakers, different opinions, different past and different experience levels, different opinions. So take it with a grain of salt, but it's always nice to have people that are not trolls on the internet that are commenting into your mixes, because this is how you improve. So, Gabriel, I'll check out your email. If you don't mind, email me at kevin@mixcoach.com, and I'll follow up with you. Okay. Interesting software. I will do a quick mastering pass, or sometimes spend more time tweaking the plugin with good results. The best reason for having someone else master is their first set of ears. 100%. That's true. I mean, if you think about it, an EQ and a limiter is pretty much what most mastering engineers do in a roundabout way. They do it more advanced, sometimes less advanced, but we all have the same tools. What you're paying for is their ears and their opinion of your mix to you. To me, those are probably interchangeable. You really want somebody that will improve you as a mixer, because I want to get better. I'm a student. I ask a lot of questions. I don't know everything. And the longer I live, the more I realize I don't know. So what you want to find out from people that you trust, hey, ask this question. Hey, what can I do different next time that'll make your job easier? They will, none of them's going to say, probably very few are going to say nothing. And if they do say nothing, you might want to get some other opinions. That's the most important thing that I can find about a mastering engineer, is that how they help you improve, and their ears, and they're kind of interchangeable. Lots of notch filtering for bad harmonics mostly. Yeah, I can see that. But even so, you got plugins like Soothe 2. That's a great plugin, and it's kind of a very subtle notch filter, and so subtle that it's hard to tell what it's doing sometimes until you hear the before and after. But Elliot, I need to send something to you sometime and let you master. Or what we need to do on Mix Coach Member is to have a mastering day where you pick somebody to master your song, and then like it or not, you ask what they did and how you can improve. That might be a good idea. But anyway, to sum up everything, mastering engineers are very important. And if you can learn from one, that's even more important. But the bottom line is that we mostly master our own thing now. Because budgets have become so low in some genres of music that that sometimes you don't want to afford a mastering engineer, which is the bottom line. So I think Ian's even got a course now on mastering, which I will probably end up taking because I want to learn more about it. Because people ask me if I master, and I probably could. Don't know if I want to or not, but for my mixing benefit, I definitely want to learn more about mastering. So anyway, wow, I'm losing my voice a little bit this morning. I think because I had a really long interview this morning and a chat here this afternoon with you guys, or this morning with you guys, losing my voice a little bit. So anyway, I think I'm going to wrap it up here. Hey, if you guys make sure you come next week, because I'm going to have this interview edited and kind of distilled down. Probably won't edit it too much. Just probably edit the front and the back of it, maybe make it a little more concise, but you're not going to want to miss it. So anyway, again, mention one little time here, workshop. If you haven't been to the workshop, check it out, mixcoach.com/workshop. And also, if you want to know more about the Mix Coach member, it is here. And I just remembered that I'm supposed to close the doors on that. I'll do that today. Anyway, so I'll take that down. Anyway, so workshop, mixcoach.com/workshop, if you want to check that out. And otherwise, if there are no more questions, it has been great to hang out with you guys. And I just love the comments coming in. I just love to know that you guys are sharpening iron with me. And I just really appreciate it. I look forward to this day all the time. Okay, I'm going to end it right there. I will see you next week, and when we talk to Ian Shepherd on the podcast. Okay, bye. Bye. Okay, in broadcast. See you later.